Welcome to video number 3 in my 300 board games that I've played, ranked in order, Board Game Geek order from lowest to highest. 285, Phase 10, 5 out of 10. It's actually not too bad. It gets a bad rap. I know Tom Bassel really hates this one. Its biggest problem is it's too long. Essentially, it's a rummy style game. You've got cards 1 to 10, you've got wilds. I think there might be skips in some versions. You're essentially collecting sets of cards. You're playing a card, you're picking up a card, and you're discarding a card, and you can pick up a card from the discard pile or from a blind draw. You can see what people are going for, what numbers or what colours they might want, and because colours and numbers matter. And when you play a set, you go out. There's potential for multiple people to go out in the same round. And if you don't manage to achieve, like everyone starts on phase 1, if you don't manage to achieve the 2 sets of 3, then you on the next round, you're still trying to achieve that, and other people are higher up in the phases. And there's a really natural catch-up mechanism because if you are behind, it's going to be a lot easier for you to achieve that thing. And so you tend to catch up. It's just 10 phases is too long, and 8, 9, and 10 are kind of just really, really drags on. I would probably say play phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or even just 4, 5, 6. And it's not too bad. A run of 7, run of 8, run of 9, nice and simple. It's just it's like a lot of simple card games, even gamer games. It just the designer wanted it to drag it out into this thing that it has no right to be. I used to play this with my fiance in about 1996. We played this a bunch. There are other games like Koi Koi and Canasta, which are much, much higher on the list, that are all just simply basically drawing a card, possibly playing a set of card out on the table. There's a bunch of games in this genre, and this one kind of deserves to be there. Ker Plunk, a dexterity game of sorts. You've got this plastic tower thing, and you put these sticks in at the start of the game, drop a bunch of marbles in, and you got to pull the sticks out. And if the marbles fall into your container, then that's basically negative points. First half of the game is mostly just you pulling out sticks and not much happens, and then they all tend to fall pretty quickly after that. Half the fun is in setting up the game, like sticking the thing in the thing, and you can be a bit tricky on the angles and how that worked. This is higher in the list than Operation and Hungry Hungry Hippos, which are vastly superior dexterity, silliness type games, vastly superior. So maybe this one's been around longer and more people have played it. I really just don't get that. This friend of mine that we stayed with when we moved up from Queensland to live in Queensland, he had this as well, and I played that with him. Chinese checkers. This is not a game. This is terrible. This is purely mechanical. The only interest is in that you can jump a piece over, and occasionally you'll get a clever setup if someone does something silly and opens you up for it. Usually if you can jump over multiple pieces, they can set themselves up to jump over multiple pieces. The version we had, I think, was pretty much as pictured here. I love the way that it's got these lines in between the circles, as if you're going to get confused about where you can move. But this is just an activity. It's astounding how many versions of this are on the market. If you go Google this on Amazon, there's just page after page of this. The Mad Magazine game. We played this a bit. It would have been 89, 90, sometime around then. A friend of mine had it. We used to play Talisman. And role play, and then, for downtime, we played this once or twice. I don't know that we ever even finished the game, to be quite honest. It's a silly roll and move game where dumb things happen on the board, and you start out with money, and I think you've got to lose all your money. That's the thing, but things keep happening that give you money. So what's that, Last Will or something? Precursor to that, Brewster's Millions. You're trying to get rid of all your money as quickly as possible. There's a spot on the board where it says, if your name is Alfred E. Newman, you lose $1.6 million or whatever it is, some absurdly long number. And there's a friend in that group of people whose name was scarily close to Alfred E. Newman. So the house rule was if he landed on the spot, he lost all his money and therefore would win the game. Dumb, stupid roll and move stuff. It's, rated a few higher than Payday, and it's about equally as interesting. Good for a laugh once or twice if you find a copy somewhere. If you've ever seen that episode of Friends where they're playing the Happy Days game, it's really along those same lines as that. Without the activity that they were doing along with that, of course. Trivial Pursuit, Genius Edition, 4 out of 10. I don't think I've ever finished a game of this, but I did play the original Genius Edition circa 1987 or so. A friend of mine had a copy. I remember getting a couple of 2 or 3 of those little pieces. You're going around the board answering trivia questions and trying to fill up this thing. The thing is, the longer the game goes on, the harder it is. You've got to be on the specific spot to answer a specific question that fills in you only get credit for the question, really, if you're on the spot with the little wedge-shaped piece. And then you got to move to the middle and answer a question. It's ridiculous. And, and then there's roll again space. It's just dumb roll and move stuff and questions that you know or you don't. And the person who knows the most. Back when I was in my early teens, I was quite the font of trivial knowledge. I used to just absorb stuff. Now I would have forgotten most of it. I had the family edition in the early to mid 90s that I think maybe got played once. It came with the original game came with these big boxes. There was supposed to be 6,000 questions. So it must have been 500 cards per box. Then you'd pull one out. You'd only ask one of the 6 questions depending on what color they landed on and move it to the back of the queue. The family edition had one of the boxes was kids' questions and one of the boxes was adult questions, so it was a way of playing the game with a broader audience. But of course, the kids' questions was stupidly easy. I was in my early 20s, they were stupidly easy, and the adult questions were always stupidly hard. So I think this is one of this was a huge marketing hype thing in the early 80s. This was, we're talking about sort of time of the Rubik's Cube and that kind of thing. Big trends would come. And this was one of them, and I suspect that a lot of people bought this game and never played it, or played it once, or played it halfway through and never finished a game. I remember this would be a thing you would see on people's shelves, but you would never ever see them actually playing it. So that'll wrap up another one. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.